Hello and welcome back to NAB 2019 here at the OneSource Video Production Workflow in the B&H booth at Central Hall. My name is Nick Marchese, the brand ambassador for OneSource Video, and I'm very glad to be joined by our friend Eric Pratt, manufacturer's representative for Rakeen, Skarahoy, Ada Imaging, and Nimbus.
That's a mouthful.
That is a mouthful. I picked it up there, though. So 4 different brands that we carry, 4 different vendors, Eric, that you rep for. Very excited to talk about it. First off, how's the show going? It must be busy. You have to go between these different places.
Yeah, so every vendor has a booth here, and we tend to ping pong around and cover them where they need help, bringing customers from booth to booth to educate them on the different brands, which, you know, some of them are very synergistic with each other, and I'm sure we'll get to that shortly. But yeah, it's been a really great show, and this is my 23rd NAB. I love every single one of them, and you know, just like you know, your most favorite recent thing, this has been my favorite NAB. So
always, I was actually going to ask you how many years, so I'm happy you said that. But hey, let's kick it off with Rakeen. So introduce us to what Rakeen is. Talk about some of the highlight products, or if there's something new this year as well.
Yeah, so Rakeen, they make several different products. One of which is a 3D studio. It's a 3D virtual set system in a box. It's also a switcher, so you can use it as a live production switcher to bring in SDI and HDMI cameras, and you can also use it as a 3D virtual set system, which is very different from other products on the market because most of them have 2D virtual sets, which you can only pan and zoom on. This actually lets you move around in 3D space. It creates really quite compelling graphics. Their new components to that are a 12G capture card. So they're really upping their game in terms of the 4K 60p market, and that's up here, up at the top of Central. And then they also do a 4K region of interest box. It can bring in 2 channels of 12G, 6G, Quad 3G, or 4K HDMI, and it can zoom in on that image and create 8 HD regions of interest. So it's like turning one camera into 8 cameras, or 2 cameras into 8 cameras. So it's a way of economizing on your cameras, your cable runs. There's a lot of different applications for it. Another way of calling it is a 4K video scaler. So it can really do a lot of different things, and that's called the MVP 100, and it comes turnkey with a control surface.
That's awesome. And one of the fun things about the 3D Studio Rakeen is it's so customizable, and in such a confined space. I've even seen you set up things before, you know, just a smaller green screen that's well lit, and you can create your own custom 3D studio.
Yeah, so a 3D studio, to expound upon that a little bit more, is camera, green screen, and lights, and we actually remove the green, and that creates this synthetic environment. And one of the problems historically of doing this is that the content is generally not available, especially in the 3D virtual set market. It can be difficult to generate that content. They've done something unique where they create this wizard that lets you make your own virtual set from scratch from their enormous library of components. So every single day of the year you could have a different virtual set, but more importantly, you can have a product which is differentiated from anybody else's virtual set, which can be a problem when looking at other products with a limited number of virtual sets. You may end up producing the same content with the exact same look, which doesn't distinguish your brand. So it's a really important thing to note.
Wow, great, really interesting. So let's keep going. We have 3 other brands to carry. You have Skarahoy as well.
Yes, well, Skarahoy is, not to play favorites, one of my favorite brands because they touch on every facet of the industry. They primarily, to really try to boil it down in the most simplistic terms, they make a switcher control surface, a PTZ control surface, and an RCP control surface. And by RCP, I mean something that you would shade a camera with to control all the different aspects of that. By PTZ, obviously, we're controlling PTZ cameras, and by switchers, we're controlling switchers, control surfaces. So the thing that I need to convey here is that they make control surfaces in all different shapes and sizes, which work with almost every brand on the market. So if you want a single control surface for a switcher that will control an ATEM, a TriCaster, vMix, Roland, the list goes on and on. You can see the full list of compatible products on their website. And not only that, it's not just like I've replaced somebody else's control surface with the Skarahoy control surface. It will control multiple brands at the same time. So you could control an ATEM, and a TriCaster at the same time from the same control surface. A PTZ camera from a switcher control surface, a switcher from a PTZ control surface. So you can get extremely customized integrations, and they make such a wide range of interfaces that they've got something that's right for everybody. Do you need a switcher that's only this big, or do you need a switcher that is as long as my arms outstretched? So they make a wide range, and their integrations are really top-notch. They're amazingly well built and incredibly detailed and well thought out. And their RCPs work with so many different camera manufacturers, Sony, Panasonic, JVC, Blackmagic, Ada. So they would shade a wide range. Their PTZ controllers will work with Vadio, Lumens, NewTek, Ada, Sony, Panasonic. They even have control for ARRI and Red. Those aren't PTZ cameras. They might have heard of those. So that you can shade even high-end cinema cameras with these products.
That's really awesome. And you know, the design is so fantastic of those, and how they look too. They look really nice, and it's so compact. Even the fly.
Yeah.
You know, a smaller controller, and I love the idea of being able to pull sources from all different feeds, no matter what it is.
Yep.
So.
What's next, Nick?
Yeah, what's next? So what about Ada imaging? That's a really fun one, and that kind of ties into some of the stuff you're already talking about.
Yeah, Ada actually ties in all of the different brands together. They are principally doing cameras, so they make 4K and 3G box cameras. They're very small cameras, but they also make a larger camera called the UHD 6G X12L, which is also a mouthful. But what it basically means is it's a UHD camera, so it's 4K, and it will put out 6G SDI plus 4K HDMI, and the X12L part means that it's a zoom camera, so it has a 12x zoom on it, all integral together for, guess how much?
How much?
$12.95.
Wow.
It's the price of it's a 4K camera for the price of an HD camera, and it has so many different a range of applications. You could put it in the back of a house of worship and use it to zoom all the way in from the front or get wide shots. You can use it in conferences. We've even set one up on an Ozen tripod as a production camera by throwing a production monitor on it and a matte box, because it actually makes for a really great live production camera if you need a really high quality lens, sensor, and output on a budget.
And what's the advantage of using, let's say, a PTZ or a POV camera over maybe a traditional, let's say, an Ursa broadcast or traditional broadcast camera?
Well, obviously, a PTZ camera gives you the ability to remove a cameraman. You can have a single operator controlling as many cameras as you can shake a stick at. So PTZs are a way of economizing on human resources. There are also ways of getting shots that it just wouldn't be possible to put a cameraman on a ceiling, or it's very difficult, let's just put it that way. And then the 4K cameras, to differentiate them from Blackmagic's offerings, these aren't cinematically oriented. They are production oriented in places where you need a very small camera. So they're very small, they're very lightweight, but they have very large sensors. They don't have the ability to record in them. They don't have a monitor on them. They're just no frills, lens, sensor, output kind of cameras. They're very cost effective. So that's sort of, you know, their market is the small form factor camera market.
And a lot of the cameras are using Sony sensors as well, right? So it
Yep.
actually is a pretty nice quality you still get out of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's an amazing sensor, and they're very large. They're greater than one. They're between 1/3 and 1/2 an inch.
Wow.
They're technically 1/2.8 inches, but I find that's kind of hard to imagine.
Yeah, definitely. So let's tie it all in now with Nimbus. Nimbus is a really great product as well. Excited about this?
Yeah, so wireless tends to be boring. I mean, like, you know, it's an important, if you need to get video from point A to point B without a wire, it's kind of important. But I was looking for a brand that like had something that I could really get excited about, because that's what I need in order from my day-to-day to talk about, you know, this stuff over and over again. And I was at Broadcast Asia, and I came across this little booth in the back, and I was like, how is this different than everything else? And I saw this Ethernet port coming out, this Ethernet cable coming out of it. And I was like, what are you doing with this? And the Nimbus has an Ethernet bridge in it, and it also has an intercom, and it has a serial port which you can use to send USB or tally lights Basically, it's a single wireless solution that contains all different kinds of data that you would actually really need in a live production environment. The intercom alone makes it worth its weight in gold. The Ethernet application, however, gives you a huge range of possibilities. You can do all kinds of things with that. You could control a PTZ camera 3,000 feet away. You could shade an Ursa 3,000 feet away. You could control an ATEM using a Scarhoy controller 3,000 feet away. You put an ATEM at the other side of a football field. You have your 3 different cameras that you're using to switch the ATEM between, and you're sending the 1 signal back. So instead of sending back 3 signals, you just pick between 1. So if you only have 1 wireless, this is a clever way. I'm giving you an extreme example here, but the limit is your creativity. You could even send an NDI HX stream over that as a return feed, so that the talent can maybe see what they're watching. The other neat thing about Nimbus is that they have something called a relay or a repeater, and it's a box that can sit between the two to let it go around corners. All wireless is line of sight, so when you see it's like, oh, this wireless box goes 1,000 feet, this product lets it go around a corner or extend it by another 4,000 feet. Wow. So if you have a wireless transmitter and receiver on 2 sides of a building, buildings are made of concrete and rebar, there's no way that a signal is going to go through that, but as long as both transmitter and receiver have line of sight on the repeater, then they'll both work.
That's really incredible, and I wasn't familiar with that. With the concept of Ethernet. I mean, that's crazy, because it's not just transmitting video and audio.
Yeah.
It's doing so much more with less connections. I mean, how is the setup? Is the setup and configuration easy to get those going for Nimbus?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, it's really easy. At its most basic level, there's a set of dip switches on the side. And one of the things that we always talk about in the wireless family is when we come to a trade show like this is just a wireless nightmare, because there's not only powerful Wi-Fi signals here, there are other wireless manufacturers, there are other manufacturers who have stuff on their 5G spectrum, and that is usually a strong concern of people, because if you're operating in a stadium, you're going to be in a similar situation. When the crowd comes in, they've all got their cell phones and their devices and whatnot. So the real trick is you get a Wi-Fi analyzer. It's actually a free app that you can download for your phone, and you find a quiet part in the spectrum, and you look at that number. So I found channel 50 here was actually relatively unused. And then I go and I look in the lookup table what the dip switch combo is for channel 50, and I just go dip, 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 and setup is as easy as just flipping a few dip switches. Wow. If you're running into problems.
Right, that's really incredible. So Skarahoy, Rakeen, Ada, and Nimbus, and it's so great because, especially for you, they all really work together.
Yes.
And I guess that makes it easy to combine the products.
Let me give you some examples.
Sure.
So at the booth, we have the Ada camera running into the Rakeen MVP, showing off that 6G functionality where we take the 4K image and divide it up into all of the different 3G outputs.
Right.
And of course, Scarhoy works with everything, so the number of possible combinations among everyone's brands it's practically limitless.
Right. Well, that's really incredible. Eric, thanks so much for kind of going through those products, introducing us to them. We had the opportunity, too, to speak with a lot of the manufacturers. So great to have that extra reinforcement for you as well.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And listen, if you want to get some more coverage from NAB, just come right back here. One Source Video production workflow at the B&H booth in Central Hall. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks.